Welcome to our posts. Today we will see stories of r/Pettyrevenge. I exposed an affair because it was affecting my sleep. So I'll start with understanding what I did wasn't exactly right, but I regret nothing. My upstairs neighbor has been having an affair with a married man for about 4 months now. I wouldn't care, but because it's an affair, he comes over at odd hours of the night and they have sex very loudly. I can hear a lot, and it wakes me up and prevents me from sleeping. How do I know it's an affair? He's never spent the night and his car has baby car seats in there. Some backstory: I've had issues with my upstairs neighbor prior to this. She would throw parties on Monday nights. She gets home at 2 a.m. from work, pacing her condo and having loud phone conversations. She's 40 years old, throwing parties with 20 years old and having affairs and living like a teenager. I tried to talk to her like a normal person about my concerns, but she doesn't care, and I've had to get the association involved to stop the parties. I hate her. So I decided to learn some more about this mystery man. I looked up the license plate, found an address, searched the address and found a name. Took the name and did some social media stalking and found the man and his wife's profiles. I made a throwaway account, messaged the wife about the affair. I haven't seen him now for a few weeks and I'm sleeping really nicely. Next story. I made a dude get his nuts waxed on the first date after he lied to me. When I was in my early 20s and online dating was just starting, I made a profile and said I was just not going to be into two things: smokers and people with kids. Just that. You could be anything else, and if the chemistry is there, we are all good. I meet this guy early in the morning for a breakfast date and we are hitting it off averagely. No sparks, but no red flags. The date goes for 2.5 hours, breakfast taking forever, until we are splitting the bill and he tells me he has a kid. I ask him if he read my profile to know that I was not interested in that, and he says yes, I read that but knew that if you just spent some time with me, you'd see how great I am and how you'd be willing to see past that. I was floored, as now he wasted 3 hours of my life and was okay with being a liar. That was unacceptable to me. I said, well, I don't want this date to end, but I have to go across town to get my Brazilian, where they take all the hair off including the bum hole, done in an hour. Want to come with me and get one too? It's not painful, a total lie, and I think it's attractive on men to be clean there. No pressure, but I'm pretty busy the rest of the week and this is my only free day. He was all about following me anywhere. I told the ladies that this was his first time and that they should take everything including the butt. He held my hand between a curtain and we both got them done at the same time. He screamed a lot but was a champ and went through with it. I made him pay for his own and never called him again. If you are out there, Chris, please don't lie to women on the first date. It's a really bad way to start a relationship. Next story. My homeless dad used me in his money scheme, so I took it all. Okay, so the homeless guy is technically my dad. My dad was only in my life actively from ages 0 to 7 and in that time gave me a crap ton of trauma. He was a hardcore alcoholic manipulator and a lot of other things I can't say. My mom being the tough woman she is left him, and for a short bit we did weekends at his place. It was a never-ending cycle of him drinking, being a piece of crap, and then buying us over with animals and gifts. After getting several DUIs, unpaid child support and a few child endangerment cases, he up and left to avoid going to jail. Like disappeared, left the animals locked in the house that he abandoned and shut off his phone. Every few months or so he would randomly show up at my school drunk and crying with gifts in hand or leave notes on our door. My school literally had to implement a safety plan because my mom was scared he would take me. That stopped and didn't hear from him for about 13 years. When I was 20 he messaged me on Facebook saying he would love to get to know me and asking if there's anything I need financially. My initial response, sick to my stomach and crying, quickly turned to anger. I was broke and really could use the money, and I mean he owed me, right? I told him I would meet and needed money for rent. When I saw him my stomach turned. He looked like the crazy guy you see on the side of the road begging for money. He really didn't make much sense, just talked a lot of crap about my mom saying she was a liar and turned us against him and mumbling nonsense. Apparently his brother, my uncle that I have never had a relationship with, would no longer give him money but would wire transfer him money for me. He told his brother I needed $1,500 and told me he would take $500 and give me $1,000. His crappy burner phone ran out of minutes, so one of the calls to his brother was made from my phone. Of course, he didn't have an ID or anything, so I would need to pick it up with him. When someone wires you money, they get a code, then give you the code, and voila, you get the money. My dad wouldn't give me the code until we were physically at the place to pick it up, which we planned to do the following morning. The next morning, I decided to text my uncle since I now had his number and ask him directly for the code. I got the code, picked up the money, and blocked my piece of crap dad. He made sure to leave me some deranged voicemails about how big of a piece of crap I am. He pretty much used me to get money from his brother. If he really wanted to be in my life, he would have taken the proper steps to do so and change, but he never did. Not denying what I did wasn't crappy, but also F my dad. Next story. The customer who tipped a fake $100 bill. This is not my story, this happened to my friend. They don't use Reddit, and when they told me this I had to share because I love it and I'd never expect it from the friend who did it. I work as a server. This one guy always comes in the restaurant I work at. He usually is pretty quiet and never tips too well. Most of the time he comes with a couple of friends or by himself and sits at the bar and watches a sports game. I've never had a problem with him until he came in one time with a date. I've never seen the woman before, so I assumed they were new to dating. Anyways, they sit at a table this time in a more quiet part of the restaurant, and they were sat at one of my tables. I had no problem with them and everything was going fine. They asked for the check and I went right around the corner from their table. It was close by, so I was quick. As I was coming back to the table, the guy says to the woman, "Watch this," as he puts down a $100 bill on the table. He saw me see and he was joking like, "Oh, you weren't supposed to see that." I was ecstatic either way, even though it was so obvious he was trying to impress the woman. I didn't care. I waited till they left to go grab the $100 bill. Well, when I unfolded it, it was one of the fake $100 bills, I guess for pranks. That means this freaking guy planned this out to impress this woman. It was so frustrating because I needed the money, but at the same time I thought it was because I did a great job. Either the woman was in on it or he decided to be a jerk in two different ways. Told my manager and he was like, "Wow, that's ridiculous." I decided to hold on to it because I knew the day would come when I could get back at this guy. 2 weeks later. My manager recognizes the guy, and while I was working at the time, I was in a different side of the restaurant which was already full. My manager found me and asked if I wanted that customer's table as well and told me he was with the woman from last time. I often joked with my manager about throwing the fake $100 back on the table in front of that woman if he ever came back to embarrass him. I thought to myself, yeah, I may be busy already, but I also thought, sure, what's one more table? Told my manager absolutely, no problem, with a smirk on my face. Before I went over to their table, I ran out to my car to grab the fake $100 that was sitting in my cup holder for this exact moment. I get to their table and they instantly recognize me. The woman seemed normal, but the guy looked like he was nervous. I pretended nothing happened all the way until I got their check. When I brought the check back, I placed it down on the table as well as the fake 100 but left it unfolded so the fake part was showing. I looked at the guy and said, "Hey, not sure if you remember me from last time, but I believe you forgot this, just returning it because I believed it was too much." The woman looked very confused, so I instantly knew she was not a part of it, but the guy got all nervous and said, "I don't know what that is." I said, "Oh, my mistake," and laughed and said to the woman, "Have a good night," and walked away. When I came back, there was a big $0 on the signed copy and a $50 bill, real this time, where the woman was sitting after they had left. One can only assume that the guy didn't want a tip on his card, so he wrote obnoxiously big zeros on the tip, and that $50 just happened to be where the woman was sitting, so I'm hoping she had placed it there. Now I don't know what happened with the couple or if they stayed together, but I haven't seen them back since and it's been a few weeks, and I really hope she looks for his red flags now. Next story. Children were playing "Let's dump all our crap over the fence" for years. I joined in one. I have lived in my neighborhood for 6 years. I run daily and walk the dog daily when it's not 45°C out, but since it's a newer area, there aren't many paths. So I take basically the same sidewalks every single day. About 4 years ago, I noticed there'd always be a pile of crap on the sidewalk behind a specific home. We're talking a basketball, pair of shoes, half of some plastic toy, an umbrella, etc. Really random groupings of everyday life detritus, always on the sidewalk, always behind this house. I have a short dog, and also I am aware enough of the world that I know this stuff can affect, say, a mother with a stroller or someone in a wheelchair trying to navigate around it. So when I'd come across it, I'd always move it onto the grass because I didn't really know where it was coming from. Eventually I'd see it get reported as litter on our local complaints app and the city would clean it up, and that was that. Once or twice I took a garbage bag myself and threw it out. This happened for years. I had to make a Facebook account for a job I took, and idly decided to join my local neighborhood Facebook group. Scrolling back to read the drama, I came across a complaint about that house. Someone commented, "Try being their neighbor, it's like living by a dump." By scouring the comments, I found out these kids just do this constantly, the parents don't care and have been talked to by the city and the neighbors, and the color of the house of the culprits, confirming which house it was. The kids just thought this was fun. So I decided, why not just throw everything back in? I began doing this in 2021. Shoe? In their yard. Gatorade bottle? Yard. Dog poop bag? Yard. One time a whole Barbie was out there. I picked it up. Chucked it. See, the kids were never out when I was out. So no one really saw me throw it back in. One time we threw the same shoe back and forth 6 times. 6 runs, I saw that damn glitter Velcro shoe. 6 times, I tossed it back over their fence. This whole thing baffled me because I can't imagine the parents understood where all their crap was going. I saw a whole raincoat, big toys, adult sneakers. Like, these children were taking stuff from the house to do this. It always slowed down in the winter, but once the snow melted, it came back. One day I went for my run and one of those plastic tricycles was there. Something in me snapped. I moved it to the side and left it there. I ignored it for a few days. Then, I went for a walk with my dog. And I heard the kids in the yard. I picked that sucker up, stepped far back, and with all my might, wailed that crap into their yard. I heard a shriek and the sound of breaking, and then silence. Then I walked up to the fence and said, "I better not see any of your garbage on this sidewalk ever again." And then kept walking with my dog. Because really, what were the kids gonna do? The fence was higher than they were, it was not gated nor close to a walking path, so if they wanted to see me they'd have to go down 6 houses to come out to the path I was on. Their parents clearly didn't give F. This was fall 2022. I'm happy to report I haven't seen a single piece of garbage behind their house since. And yes, they still live there, their artwork is still proudly displayed in the windows. I hope you guys like this video. If you did, make sure like, comment, share and subscribe the channel or posts.